Alright, so here's the video after the first autocross with the new car. I went out to the SASCA, San Antonio Sports Car Association autocross with Mike, the previous owner of the car. We co-drove, which basically, for those of you who don't know, means we took turns. So we drove in the same heat in the same class, competing against each other, taking turns. And wow, this car is absolutely incredible. The way it drives, the way it handles, and everything. We were on old tires that were kind of aged out, but still have some rubber left in them. I'm going to leave them on to, they're Hoosier A7s. I'm going to leave them on to learn the car and everything. And I was still on a moderate at best grip asphalt surface. I was getting 1.7 G's peak and consistently in the 1.5 to sometimes 1.6 range, which is just incredible. I would only get that. I was getting, on the old car for reference, on 200 treadwear tires, I'd get 1.3, 1.4 on flat, higher grip surface in like ideal conditions with, and then I might peak to 1.5 if there's a little bit of bank and stuff on fresh tires. The only place I even saw 1.7 in the old car was at the bottom of the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, where you're coming down and you get to the bottom of the hill, so you're getting pressed into the pavement as you turn, which gives you a lot more grip. This was doing that on flat asphalt, which is just mind-boggling. And it's a parking lot. It's autocross. It's in a parking lot, which is just makes it even more incredible. The car handles amazing. It's definitely, you can feel the extra power compared to the old car. It's up about 50 horsepower or so. It's down about 140 pounds. It's got better suspension, which I may have noticed a little bit. What I really noticed was the 315 Hoosiers, 315 millimeter wide Hoosier A7s, the incredible custom tuned OS Geiken diff in the back, and those are probably the two things I noticed the most. The suspension was definitely stiffer, noticed that, and I definitely felt the power. The aerodynamic stuff definitely helped in some of the high speed stuff. There were points where you'll see in these runs videos where I was backing off or braking, where the car owner kept going because he knew he could trust the car, and I'm obviously going to have to get to that point. So what we're going to see here are a few different videos of different runs that we did. First video we're going to see is Mike, the old owner, taking me out on his first run so I could see it and feel it from his perspective and get some input. Then you'll see my first run, which had him with me to kind of coach me a little bit. You'll see the rest of my runs throughout the day. I got 5 runs. They're 40-something seconds a piece. And you'll see the improvements, and we'll talk through the details of what I was noticing, what I was changing, and some observations from each run as we go. And then at the end, after you've seen my fastest run, we'll see Mike's fastest run, so you can kind of see the difference there. And most of that difference is going to be in carrying more speed places, staying on the gas longer, getting on the gas earlier, because he trusts the car and he knows the car, and I'm going to have to get to that point. In the end, I got 5th of 8 in the race tire PAX class. For those of you who don't know, PAX is a handicap system that basically is meant to correct for the differences in speed between different classes, so you're comparing driver to driver. Theoretically, it's not perfect, but it does a pretty good job. So what they do is all the classes that run on the Hoosiers basically run in this R tire class, and they use the PAX index to handicap it to make it all work out. That put me a little below the center point, put me mid-pack. I was only 1.3 seconds behind the old owner, Mike, who got 3rd. And this is on, again, it's on aged out tires. If we were on new tires, we both would have done a little better. But overall, it was a very successful time. I'm going to leave the aged out tires on the rest of the season while I learn the car, and I'll get some new ones. So some takeaways from all this before we get into the individual runs. I love the way the car's set up. It probably does need an alignment though. So I'll probably take it somewhere, get corner balanced with me in it, and then get the alignment done. First though, I've got to get the Cobra seat mounted on the passenger side. And I ran into some issues where my parts I had right now for it didn't work, and I had to order some more. That's for another time. But the Cobra Nogaro passenger seat's going to go in, so that'll happen beforehand. And then I'm going to have to figure out the rest of the stuff from there. So I'm going to have to find someone that does all that. Beyond that, I have pretty much decided that the way that diff works so well with the R compound tires, that my track tires are going to have to be something really sticky as well. So what I'm leaning towards at this point, pretty strongly, I'm almost certainly going to do this. What I'm leaning towards is getting another set of the 18 by 11 inch wheels, like what are on it now, with some 285 Goodyear Supercar 3Rs. Those are kind of the closest thing to the Hoosiers. This will work well with the diff, at least once they're warm, that you can get that would still be an actual tire with tread. There's the Hoosier R7, which is kind of their equivalent to the A7's their autocross tire, R7's their road course tire, but the Supercar 3R is comparable as far as the test numbers looking at the grassroots motorsport stuff, and it lasts a little longer. And it's also, if I go back to Albuquerque Superlap, which I plan on trying to do in the fall, it's a tire that's legal there. It has to be 100, it's a 100 treadwear tire. I'm also considering getting a third set of wheels and putting either probably some Continental Extreme Contact Sports on there to be the rain tire for autocross or track, as well as the tire for when I take it out on the street. So I'm not burning through those Supercar 3Rs or even the, God forbid, the Hoosiers on the street when I do take it out. So that's kind of where we are with it. I've decided as far as my route with the car, because we were in the intro video, I was talking about some things I was considering. I'm going to leave the baseline wrap, but I'm going to remove a few of the decals off that the previous owner had. In fact, I've already done that. And I've got my own numbers coming and everything. There'll be some pictures and everything once that's all done. I'm going to leave I'm basically leaving things that are part of like what the car is, but taking off things that directly represented the old owner and changing that type of stuff over to me is kind of the philosophy I'm taking with it. So it's going to be 66, it's going to have the numbers are going to be a different style than what was on before. It's going to have, right now the back is clean, so I'm trying to decide what I want to put back there. It's just plain gray. I took off the few decals he had on the back, like as far as the facing rear. One idea that my wife and I have been talking about is something that says Control-Alt, because it's a S2000 CR Delete model. Kind of one of those if you know, you know jokes. Maybe putting that somewhere back there, something along those lines. But there'll be pictures and everything when that all comes about. But that's kind of where we're at with the car and my impressions after the first run. Let's get into the actual videos of the autocross runs. The first run we're going to look at is going to be the run of the original owner, the past owner anyway, driving the car with me in the passenger seat. I'm not super happy with this camera angle. I think I want to try to get a little bit of a taller GoPro mount for it. So let me know what you guys think, how you guys feel about this particular angle. I think it's a little too low in the car, so there's a little too much inside the car and not enough outside the car. But again, we'll see as we go here. You gotta give me your feedback.
Yeah, don't need to hold on to the door handle.
I always tell people, as long as you don't grab the e-brake, right?
51.3 in the Aston, also a rear car seat.
So off the line, you see much more power than the old car if you watch any of my old videos. Sideways, I start laughing just at the sheer incredibleness that is this vehicle as we go around this course. obviously carried a little too much speed through the end there and went to the wrong side of those cones at the finish there, causing a DNF for that first run. And then you hear me just laughing because I just can't believe how incredible this car performs. So the next video we're going to see is my first run with the original owner riding shotgun.
All right, John Harper Smith.
Go catch it.
I'm not quite as smooth as the original owner through the slalom. Again, I'm getting used to the car, but I did at least get to see it done once. As you'll notice, it's a weird helmet I'm wearing. That's actually a loaner helmet from the previous owner that he lent to me because my new helmet that I ordered is got delayed in shipping. So you can see right there, I got sideways a little, and I was used to the old car and how it responded. In it, you needed a big correction when the tail started sliding to kind of catch it. And in this one, I overcorrected. It actually kicks me out wider because I overcorrect. So that was the first kind of big lesson learned driving this car. It responds so much quicker and has so much grip, and that rear diff makes it so much easier to catch the tail that I overcorrected. As you can see there, the previous owner is happy with how I did.
Pretty good.
And I'm just blown away. Again, this is my first time driving the
I
car.
will tell you,
It,
you're inducing some of that, right?
Yes.
I'll let you digest, but I mean, obviously.
So you hear him talk about me inducing some of that. The video goes on, but I cut it here. A lot of the issues I was having with the sliding and stuff were because of my inputs and my being used to the old car and the way it acted as opposed to the way this one acted. So from there, we're going to go to my second run, which is my first one being solo in the car.
For Matthew.
Getting the vents going. There's no AC, but at least I can get some venting.
So just basically the exact same
Let's see, like getting 1.5 Gs in that turn is just insane. Given the conditions, my old car would be 1.3 in that scenario. And that last right-hand turn there was the showcase. You'll hear me refer to that a little later on. So overall, not bad. This run was definitely starting to improve a little bit. So the first run was a 47.2. Then the second one you just saw went to a 46.5. So 0.7 of a second improvement just from me having experienced the car once before and having got a lap in. As we go into the next one, the run 3, I actually get a little slower. So what you'll see here, as we get going, we'll talk about kind of where I get slower.
novices in this heat currently. We got 7 more for tomorrow, or for this afternoon.
Alright, so here's run 3. So this one I'm trying to get more used to the steering, so I go smooth through the slalom, but not particularly fast. on the gas a little too hard, not used to the extra power and torque yet. And you can see Mike left his helmet in the car and I failed to notice it, so that's on me. But I actually went 2/10 slower on this, probably because I was not pushing as hard through the slalom, and then on that last left-hander, the car gets a little sideways. So going from, again, a little recap. So the first run was a 47.2 with a cone, then a 46.5, then a 46.7. So I lost 0.2 of a second. Going into the next one is when things start to really click.
I did. That's what I
So
said
going into run 4,
it tumbled.
now
Wow.
I've kind of got my head wrapped around what the car can do to an extent. So I decided to I'm going to push a little harder here and drive a little smarter. Pushing a little harder in the slalom here. Get into this turn here. Get on the gas a little sooner, slide a little. So I lost a little bit of time, but I'm getting more aggressive. Learned to experiment with kind of my older shuffle steer style a little bit in that turn. Just getting comfortable with the car. Getting better at correcting when the tail starts to kick up, much smaller corrections, keep the car pointed the way I want it. Little slide through the finish there, and that completes run 4. So for run 4, I got a 46.4, basically 396, so basically 0.4. So I picked up 1/10 of a second over the second run. So again, moving in the right direction. So at this point, I'm seeing how everything's going, and up to this point, Mike has already run his fastest run of the day that he will run as far as clean runs with a 44.75. So I'm going into run 5, and what I'm thinking now is, okay, I've got the car, I got my head wrapped around the car. I don't have it completely figured out, I'm not used to it yet, but I've got my head wrapped around kind of what's going on with the car. So I'm going out and I'm gunning for a 45 point something. 45.999 would be happy, would be ecstatic. But just going into it, just seeing what I can do now, trying to drive as good as I can. So here's run 5.
Ryan Singer, he's standing over 46.3 in 5th place in the hard class. Brian Zipley.
Getting a lot more comfortable with the slalom. Still not great, still need some practice. I am a little rusty on autocross, so slaloms are a little challenging for me at the moment. Decided I liked not shuffle steering in this particular car for that turn. Little slide there probably cost me some time. No, really, that slide's probably why I don't end up getting a 45-second run. I'm through, and this ends up being a 46 flat, a 46.03. So I don't quite get the 45 I want, but overall, I'm happy with the performance for my first time out in the car. And also, so the previous owner got 3rd at Nationals in this car's class last year, and I was 1.3 seconds behind him. And typically, even when I was at my best, the guys that would get trophies at Nationals were 1 to 2 seconds ahead of me. So I feel like my driving was solid, especially considering it's a new car to me and so rusty on autocross. So I've been just doing time attack for the better part of the last 3.5 years while I was in Albuquerque for a couple of reasons. So first off, it was 2.5 hours each way to get to an autocross, and the track was right there. Then I was helping out with the track, and I was busy and couldn't really justify the extra time away. So I just focused on time attack, especially with that Albuquerque Super Lap series that I was helping run. But my usual way of wanting to do things and the way I'm going to kind of handle things here in Texas, and we'll see how things work out at other places I move. After all, this Texas assignment is only 2 years. But generally how I do things is I set the car up to be competitive at autocross, at whatever level of autocross I'm going to be able to do at that location, and then I treat the track stuff mostly as just fun and go out and experience going out on track. So that's probably how things are going to go here and going forward, with the exception being I'm going to try to get back to Albuquerque Super Lap at least once, either in the fall here or in the spring. And I want to go see everyone, but I also want to see how this car does compared to my old one. How much faster is it? This car should absolutely dominate all the tighter stuff just like my old one did, but even faster because it's got more grip, and its aero is functional at second gear speeds at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. And then it should also be more stable at high speed than the old car because of that aero and the more developed suspension than the old car in that regard. So I'm really excited to see how this thing does at Albuquerque Super Lap, at Sandia, or Suica Circuit now, track formerly known as Sandia Speedway. And it should really be really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing the guys out there. But it is primarily an autocross car that'll see some track days here and there. But with that out of the way, now let's compare to Mike's best lap. So again, Mike's a faster driver than me and he's more familiar with the car. So here we go on his fastest lap of the day.
Go catch Chestnut. Go catch.
So as you can see here, he's faster and smoother through the slalom, so that saves him some time. This turn right here is the only turn I do better than him on, that actually makes him speed on. You see him shaking his head. He doesn't like the line he took. He shot out wider. He gains a lot of speed on me here into the showcase, just carrying more speed, staying on the gas longer, and braking later. And that's really where he makes a lot of time on me. Coming around here, he also makes some time by staying more stable. I think honestly going into the showcase is probably where the bulk of the time difference is. And then through the finish line, little slide, and there we go. 1.3 seconds faster than my time. So that gives me a target. That gives me something that I'm shooting for. It shows me where I can do better, how I can improve, and that's really valuable information. So I'm really excited to see how I do with this car at future autocrosses, on track, especially at Suica, for Albuquerque Super Lap, etc. But anyway, that is my after-action report, my thoughts and my progress on the new car after my first autocross in it. Thank you.